It's time for Temple Talk at home. Today's is called Adam Was Much More Than a Gardener by Skye Jethani. We have yet to address one important element of all temples: priests. Every temple in the ancient Near East had custodians who cared for the structure and performed the rituals within it. They were essential to the functioning of the temple and properly mediated the presence of the deity that lived there. To better understand the role of priests, it's helpful to examine the word's meaning. For example, the Latin word for priest is pontifex. It is the conjugation of two words meaning bridge builder. It speaks to the essential function of a priest as a bridge linking humanity and divinity. Remember, temples were built in high places where the heavens and the earth overlapped. Temples functioned as a bridge between the domain of people and the domain of God. If temples were bridges, it makes sense to view priests as bridge builders. They maintain the connection and facilitate the link between God and people. In this mediating role, a priest had two callings. First, they represented the people before the presence of God, but they also represented the presence of God back to the people. After all, a proper bridge allows movement in two directions. The desire for a priest, for someone to span the gap between God and us, is a universal longing. For example, while suffering terribly and longing for both answers and relief from God, Job told the Lord he wanted a mediator who might lay his hand upon us both. He was asking for a priest, a bridge to span the gap between him and the Lord. In the Old Testament, there is very specific language used to describe the role of priests in the temple. English translations vary, but in different texts, the priests are commanded to care for and to work the temple. These two Hebrew verbs are found together only when describing the activities of a priest at the temple. In other words, this language is reserved for only one vocation: priesthood. So imagine what ancient Israelites thought when the creation story was read from the scroll of Genesis and they heard this: Yahweh God took the man and put him in the garden to work it and to take care of it. This phrase with these two Hebrew verbs only ever applies to priests. When combined with all of the other temple language and imagery found in the opening chapters of Genesis, the message would have been loud and clear. Eden is a temple, and the man is a priest. He is the bridge and the mediator between the world and God. Adam's priestly identity and vocation are reiterated later in the book of Ezekiel, which describes him in the garden adorned like a priest with every precious stone. These same stones are said to cover the garments worn by Israel's high priest in Exodus 28:17-21. What does this all mean? We often assume that humanity's original God-given vocation was to be gardeners because they were supposed to work and take care of the Garden of Eden. But this instruction was much loftier than trimming bushes and edging flower beds. In fact, humanity's calling was to maintain the bridge between the heavens and the earth, to represent God to creation and creation back to God.